It was supposed to be a routine traffic stop. I still can't explain what happened next. The call came in just before 5 in the morning. That dead stretch of time where the night shift starts convincing itself it's almost over, but the sun still hasn't earned the right to come up yet. The roads were empty in that uneasy way, like everyone else had the good sense to be asleep. Single vehicle, hazard lights on, partially blocking the shoulder of a 2-lane road. No reports of a crash. No response from the driver. My partner, Dan, was driving. Windows cracked. Cold air pouring into the cruiser. Sharp enough to keep us awake after a long night. The radio murmured low. Nothing else pending. We talked just to talk. Half jokes, half complaints. Anything to keep the silence from taking over. Probably someone passed out, Dan said. Drunk or high. Or pretending to be, I said. He glanced at me and smirked. You always assume the worst. I didn't answer. At that hour, the worst usually assumes you. We saw the car about a mile down the road. No other vehicles. No nearby houses. Just trees pressing in on both sides of the road, branches arching overhead like they were listening. Dan slowed the cruiser and pulled in behind it. The clock on the dash read 4:53 a.m. I remember that time exactly, because I remember thinking we were close enough to the end of shift that this would be quick. A knock on the window. Maybe a tow. I was wrong. Dan wasn't new to the job. He'd been on the street longer than I had. Longer than most. The kind of cop whose name people recognize, not because he was loud or friendly, but because he was always around when things went sideways. He was competent, confident, comfortable in a way you only get after years of walking away from scenes you shouldn't have. We'd been paired together because of a rotation, temporary on paper. In reality, it felt like being handed someone else's shadow and told to make it work. Dan didn't explain things. He didn't need to. He moved with the ease of someone who already knew how the stop would go before we ever pulled over. That's what bothered me. Not that he broke protocol, but that he knew which parts could be bent without consequences. He shut off the headlights as we stopped behind the sedan. I followed him out, gravel crunching under our boots. The air was sharp, cold enough to sting. The sedan sat motionless, hazard lights pulsing in the dark. Dan took the driver's side without asking. I adjusted, stepping wider. Stay back, he said quietly, not turning around. Let me wake him. That wasn't how we did things. Not with an unresponsive driver. Not on a dark road with no backup. But Dan was already knocking. Firm. Controlled. 2 sharp knocks against the glass. Nothing. He knocked again, harder this time. Sir, he called out. Police. Still nothing. The hazard lights kept blinking. I watched Dan's reflection in the side window. His face was calm, focused, almost patient, like he was waiting for something. Dan knocked again. Harder. I stepped toward the passenger side. The sound echoed too loudly in the empty road. For a second, nothing happened. Then the shape in the driver's seat shifted. The man had been slumped back, head resting against the seat, chin tilted up like he was asleep with his mouth slightly open. When he moved, it was slow and deliberate, like his body had to remember how. He sat upright. I saw his eyes immediately. They were open too wide. Not blinking, not focusing, just staring straight ahead through the windshield like he was looking past the road, past the trees, past us. Something was wrong with them. At first, I thought it was glare, the angle, the low light. But as my eyes adjusted, I saw it clearly. His pupils were clouded, the dark swallowed by a milky haze. Scar tissue, maybe, thick and uneven, like something had been healing over his eyes for a long time. Dry blood clung to the corners, crusted near the tear ducts. Thin lines ran down his cheeks, old enough to have darkened, like he cried blood, and then just stopped. He didn't turn his head, didn't react to the knock, didn't look at Dan or at me. He just stared forward, breathing shallow, chest barely moving. Sir, Dan said, voice steady, professional. Can you hear me? No response. I shifted closer, tried to catch the man's eyes from a different angle. Nothing changed. No tracking. No flinch. He wasn't looking through us. He wasn't looking at anything. Dan, I said quietly, I think he's blind. Dan didn't answer right away. He leaned closer to the glass, peering in, studying the man's face like an object. No urgency. No surprise. Maybe, he said. Or maybe he doesn't want to look at us. That wasn't a joke. That wasn't concern either. The driver's lips parted. For a second, I thought he was going to speak. I leaned in, instinctively angling my ear closer to the cracked window. Instead, his jaw tightened. His breathing hitched. And then he whispered something so quiet I almost missed it. Not to Dan. Not to me. Just out loud. The man's lips moved again. This time, sound came out. It spilled from him in a fast, breathless rush. Too quick to grab onto, the syllables crashing together like he was afraid to slow down. Trust him. Trust him, trust. I leaned closer, trying to catch it. What? I said, Sir, what did you say? He didn't stop. The words, or whatever they were, kept tumbling out, clipped and urgent, each one bleeding into the next. No pauses. No space to separate them. I looked at Dan. What is he saying? Dan stepped back from the door, straightening up. His face stayed neutral, but his eyes flicked to me for just a second longer than necessary. Nothing, he said. He's probably on drugs. The man's breathing grew harsher, the sounds forcing their way out of him now. Trust him, trust. It made my skin crawl, not because I understood it, but because it felt directed, like the sound were aimed, even if the meaning wasn't. I reached for my radio. Dispatch! We got a driver who's... The man suddenly inhaled hard, a sharp gasp like he'd been holding his breath too long. His head turned, not his eyes, just his face, toward me. Trust him, he forced out one last time. Then he went rigid. We got the door open without much resistance. Dan reaching first, cutting the engine, shifting the car into park. The driver didn't fight us when we told him to step out. He moved stiffly, like his joints weren't fully listening to him. But he complied. No sudden motions. No aggression. Just wrong. Up close, the damage to his eyes was worse. The clouding wasn't uniform, thicker in places, uneven, like scar tissue that had grown without supervision. He still didn't look at either of us. His head stayed forward, chin slightly raised, breathing shallow and fast. Easy, I said, keeping my voice low as we guided him onto the shoulder. You're okay. I wasn't sure if that was for him or me. Dan stood close behind him, one hand already near the man's shoulder, like he was waiting for an excuse. I keyed my radio. Dispatch. Roll an ambulance for us. We've got a male, non-responsive. Possible medical. The driver swayed on his feet. I adjusted my grip, steadying him. His clothes were damp with sweat despite the cold, his skin hot under my gloves. For a second, everything felt under control. Then his hand shot out. I burned them, cut them, let them scar over. Thought if I couldn't see the world, I wouldn't see what comes next. A faint exhale. It didn't help. My hands were shaking now. They don't arrive as thoughts, he said. They arrive whole, complete, like standing in a room after everything's already happened. He leaned forward just slightly. That's how I saw him. My stomach dropped. He feels you pulling away, the man said. He knows you carry guilt. Men like him recognize that. The words pressing on me. He knows you'll talk, he continued. Eventually, and he can't allow that. The air felt thick. He has too much invested, the man said. Too many stories already told. Then the vision unfolded. Not rushed, not shouted, recited. He goes to your house when he knows you're not there, the man said. He chooses a time when the walls are quiet and the floors remember every step. My chest tightened. Your wife hears the door, he continued. She thinks it's you. She even smiles. I felt sick. She's knocked to the floor in the kitchen. She reaches for her phone, he said. She keeps on the counter, screen down. My fingers curled. He steps on her hand. The man said softly, not enough to crush it, just enough that the bones slide. My breath hitched. When she reaches again, he breaks her arm higher up. He went on, above the wrist. Clean. The sound is sharp in a quiet kitchen. My vision blurred. She tries to scream, he said. Her breath leaves first. The words kept coming. He pins her against the counter. The man said, not angry, careful. He needs her to stay conscious. I could barely breathe. She crawls, he went on, one arm dragging wrong, the other shaking too badly to hold her weight. A pause. She thinks about your daughter, he said. Not you. My knees felt weak. She doesn't get far. The hum of the room felt deafening. You come home later, the man said. You smell it before you see her. Footsteps echoed faintly somewhere down the hall. You clear the house, he continued, room by room, because that's who you are. His voice dropped. He waits for you in the hallway where the walls narrow. My heart slammed. He shoots you once, the man said. Low, enough to keep you awake. The door handle shifted slightly. He kneels beside you, he whispered. Tells you this didn't have to happen. The door opened. Dan stepped back into the room. The man collapsed instantly, like his spine had been cut loose. His head lolled back against the pillow, eyes unfocused, ruined again. Trust him, he whispered under his breath. Trust him? Dan glanced at him, unimpressed. Guy say anything useful? He asked. I couldn't answer, because it sounded like madness, and because it sounded like a memory that hadn't happened yet. After what felt like forever stuck at the hospital, 2 officers showed up to take our place. Sergeant wants you guys to head back. Get started on the paperwork. It made sense, but I wasn't happy about it. Paperwork after the day we had sounded like hell. Dan drove us back to the precinct without saying much. He seemed tired. Genuinely so. The kind of tired you get after too many years on nights, when the adrenaline wears off and all that's left is routine. Inside, he stretched his shoulders and let out a long breath. I'm beat, he said. You good to handle the paperwork on this one? That caught me off guard. Normally he'd insist on walking everything through himself. Yeah, I said. I've got it. He nodded. Appreciate it. I'm going to head home and get some sleep. No edge. No tension. Just another shift ending. As he walked toward the door, he paused. Hey, he said, glancing back at me. Don't overthink tonight. Guy was messed up. Shit happens. Then he was gone. I stared at the report longer than I should have, rereading the same lines without absorbing them. Whatever the man had said in the hospital felt distant now, like something overheard in a dream. Fatigue does that. It makes memories unreliable. Sounds blur. Meaning slips. By the time the light outside started to soften, I realized I still hadn't shaken the feeling in my chest. So I pulled up the body cam. I told myself I was just being thorough. The audio was messy at first. Road noise, breathing, static. When the man spoke, it still sounded rushed, broken. Exactly how I remembered it. Almost. I isolated the clip, slowed it down, and there it was. Don't trust him. I replayed it again at normal speed. This time I was sure. The man was never speaking incoherently. He was speaking with fear. He had been trying to warn me from the start. I sat back, suddenly aware of how long I'd been awake. How easy it would be to convince myself I was reaching. Connecting dots that didn't belong together. Still, the feeling wouldn't go away. I replayed again at normal speed. This time I was sure. The man was never speaking incoherently. He was speaking with fear. He had been trying to warn me from the start. I called my wife. She answered while moving around the house, voice normal, distracted. Hey, she said. You alive? Barely, I said. Listen, this might sound dumb, but can you guys go to your sister's tonight? She laughed lightly. What? Why? I don't know, I said. I just need you to trust me. There was a pause. Not fear, just confusion. Okay, she said. That's weird, but okay. She put the phone down while she grabbed a bag. I stayed on the line, listening to the sounds of our house. Cabinets opening. Footsteps. Familiar, comforting things. I'm loading the car, she said. Hold on. The back door opened. Then she stopped talking. What? I asked. I thought I heard something. She said, outside. My chest tightened. What kind of something? I don't know, she said. Like the garbage cans. I stood up. Don't go out there, I said. I already am, she replied casually. Relax. I heard gravel crunch. Plastic scrape. Then she laughed. Raccoon, she said. Big one. Took off when I opened the door. I let out a slow breath. Scared me for a second, she added. Okay, we're leaving now. A moment passed. The engine started. I'm pulling out of the driveway as we speak, honey. Please tell me what's going on. Before I can speak, she started to talk again. Huh, she said. What? I think I just saw your partner. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? A car just flew past me, she said. Pretty sure that was Dan. Which way was he going? I asked. I don't know, she said. He just passed us as we were pulling out. Drove by quick. A beat. He looked pissed, she added, almost offhand. I closed my eyes. Just go, don't stop for anything, I said, but my voice didn't sound right. I made her stay on the phone with me the whole time. They made it to her sister's before it got dark. Safe. Only then did the full weight of it settle in. Dan had left the precinct tired. Dan had driven past my house. Dan hadn't called. I requested a unit go to my sister-in-law's house and watch out for my family. I'm still at my desk as I write this. In a few minutes, I'm going upstairs to tell my supervisors everything. The shooting, the footage, the truth about Dan. I don't know what happens after that. I only know this. If I had gone home after this mountain of paperwork, if I had ignored a warning that sounded like exhaustion and madness, my wife and daughter wouldn't be sleeping at her sister's tonight. And I wouldn't be sitting here. Try to put this into words before someone else gets a chance to tell my story for me.